today, as our final WASC all staff meeting, we are going to be covering the last three components, which are learning and curriculum, learning and instruction. We're going to cover special education services, and we're also going to be covering the governing board, and also uniform complaint and annual audits as well, because we want to make sure that you are all informed as to how we do what we do and why we do it. As we get started, I do want to mention, I know you all received, oh, thank you, Ben. I see you. Appreciate that. I do want to, I know you all received Miss Marilyn's email notifying you that the WASC visit has been postponed. And so we will be hearing back from the WASC team around the fall or so. We will continue meeting and chipping away at WASC as we wait for our guests to arrive during the fall. So with that being said, we can go ahead and move to the next slide. I do want to remind you of our school-wide action plan and LCAP goals. I want to say to you that we share those goals in common. The both documents, the LCAP and the school-wide action plan, we have the two goals. The goal number one is to increase academic achievement in ELA and math. And goal number two is to monitor and maintain school climate. And so we've been repeating these every week because we just want to make sure that we all know what we're working towards, right? These are our goals. So again, goal number one, to increase academic achievement in ELA and math. Goal number two, monitor and maintain school climate. This is both for our school-wide action plan and also our LCAP goals. Okay, Ms. Marilyn.
Go ahead.
Mr. Finley.
Alrighty, so today we're going to talk about learning and teaching, and a lot of this information that was shared in the WASC document. Our teachers are very much aware of the practices that we have been executing at our school. So it's just really a reminder of some of the things that we do, and also to help inform other staff members who are not directly in the classroom of some of the things that happen with regards to teaching and learning. As we think about our goal to increase our academics in math and ELA, we just wanted to talk about some of the things that we have been doing to make sure that we get there. So this section talks about challenging learning experiences, and one of the criteria of the WASC and as a school is that we should be exposing students to challenging learning experiences that pushes them as well as help them get to where we want them to be. Some of the things that we have been implementing throughout the years at Reach to ensure that this is happening is facilitating constant or consistent classroom observations. And with these classroom observations, teachers are presented with an observation rubric where they receive the feedback with regards to the progress, etc., of their lesson. So we look at lesson execution. How are the teachers delivering the instruction? We talk about student engagement. Are students fully engaged throughout the lessons? What are the teachers' instructional practices like? Is there any form of differentiation in the lesson? And we do walk around and circulate and look at student work, and we listen to student discussions as we are there in the classroom. We think that this is super important because it gives us an idea of what type of learning experiences we are presenting to our students. And the observation helps us determine whether we need to increase the rigor of the experiences or whether we need to pull back a little bit. We also follow up with teachers through one-to-one coaching meetings. And during these meetings, we talk through some things that we see went well, and also provide one or two areas of growth for the teachers. As we know, we are all consistently learning and growing each day. We sometimes practice with teachers depending on need, and we present teachers with a follow-up time where we come back and determine whether or not the feedback has been implemented. And the back end of all of that in preparation for the lesson, we do ask teachers to submit lesson plans weekly, and we check these lesson plans to ensure that teachers give us an idea of the things that they are targeting during the lesson, which includes our focus areas for this school year. We paid a lot of attention to misconceptions, DUK questions, and discussions within the classroom, and we're able to gather what that can look like from the lesson plans. Next slide, Marilyn. We also know that as a school, we want to make sure that students are very much engaged, and we want to share with you some of the strategies and resources that we have been using at our school, or remind you of some of these strategies that we have used to keep students engaged. So if you're in the classroom every day, these things are not new to you, but for outside staff, if you are asked about what are some of the things that teachers are doing in the classrooms, these are some of the items. So teachers are engaging students through cold calling, call and response, choral response, tin and talks, mirror words, show me boards, total physical response, and teacher and student points. And I'm sure there's possibly more, but this gives you an idea of the ones that we use as a school on a daily basis, continuously and consistently. With regards to differentiation, as you know, this campus, we focus a lot on small group instruction, and this is where we have the ability to meet students where they're at, and also provide students with the resources and the instruction that is best suited for their ability level. So students are grouped by ability level across our school. Instruction is differentiated to meet the needs of those particular groups. With that instruction comes differentiated strategies as well. And of course, if the groups are differentiated, the resources too for the students and manipulative are differentiated as well. So this is where we probably push teachers a little bit, or where teachers are stretched, because if you have 3 or 4 different group levels in your class, it requires you to plan so intensely to meet the needs of these different group of kids, because they all will learn differently and they all would receive information differently. Next slide, Marilyn. We also need to ensure that as time goes on, so too does our program. As we go from year to year, we need to make sure that we keep up with what's happening in society. And something that we know that's happening now is that technology is playing a real or a great part in the lives of students and the lives of everyone in this world, as we can say. So at the elementary level, we are ensuring that we integrate technology into our lessons, which not only captures students' attention, but it also keeps their attention and motivate them to want to learn more as well. At our school, we have used programs and platforms such as Lexia, MovieMax, Smarty Ants, iExcel, Read 180, Khan Academy, Google Classroom, Quizzes, Nearpod, Bookit, Peer Deck, and Kahoot. So these are just some of the programs and platforms that we have used in our classrooms to integrate technology. So if you're ever asked anywhere in the streets or from a parent or from the WASC committee, what are some of the things that we do to include technology in our classroom, you have an entire list. With regards to student understanding, there is a saying that we haven't taught until something is learned. And it's important for us to assess students' understanding of the content that we are teaching. And at our school, we allow multiple ways or multiple varieties of ways for students, to demonstrate their understanding of the content. So we do weekly quizzes, we do exit tickets, but there are other creative things such as group work, visual presentations, songs, writing, debates, discussions, etc., that happens within the classroom that allows students to show their understanding in a way that they are able to fully express it or feel confident about expressing how they understand the particular content. Next slide. We also want to make sure that what we are teaching at our school can be applicable to real life. And we also want to make sure that we are setting students up to be ready to take on a career of their choice or a career that they are passionate about. So we try to ensure that we are creating opportunities at the school where it's not all about books, because we know that all students aren't into reading and writing. And there are some people that are very much talented with arts, drama, and those are the components. And we have to be able to tap into those sides of students as well. And at our school, we create a lot of opportunities for creativity and passion, where students are able to demonstrate some of the things that they have learned, not only in writing, but beyond the textbook and beyond the classroom. So some of these things, and teachers as well. So some of these things include individual presentations. We realize that some students might be able to present better than they can actually write or answer a question. Some students might be able to perform. That's their skill, that's their talent. Some people are good at spelling, so they enter the spelling bee competition. Like these extra activities must be present for students. Participating in the science fairs, teachers hosting wacky Wednesdays and room transformations, and the science classrooms and other classrooms doing like experiments continuously allows us to really push students to a place where they can get creative with the content and do other things that are meaningful to them. Adding on to student understanding as well, we see that again, students are doing group work, presentations, songs, writing, etc. I think that was a duplicate that should not have been there. So that's my error. Next slide, Marilyn. So to sum it up and put everything all together, you know what we do here as a school on a regular basis. We talk about it over and over again. Two strengths that stood out or that stands out at Reach is that we realize that students are exposed to a wide variety of differentiation. So as we talk about instructional practices, talk about the rigor of the lessons or resources that we are constantly pushing to differentiate the manipulative, and just teachers executing the lessons in their own way, bring out their own personalities, really tells a story within the school. And that is one great thing that we are doing here at Reach. In addition to that, we have seen across the school that students are highly engaged during lessons. And if you remember the slides previously, there were so many engagement strategies to choose from. So it really sets us up for success as a school, because teachers have the capacity to implement all of these strategies, which in return makes the lessons very engaging for our students. It makes them want to learn. It makes them want to come to school. And that engagement is really great. And we have seen that classes where there's high engagement, students are happy to be there, and it's also reflected in the student scores. One area that we highlighted could be an area of push for our school is that we care so much about bringing the students that are just below level onto grade level, that we sometimes forget that the students that are performing at the higher level, if focus is not placed on them as well, they too tend to roll back and end up at a place where they are just meeting expectations as opposed to exceeding expectations. So a push for us going into next year is to be thinking about how as a school we can try to spread the love, where we are continuously meeting with those low students, continuously meeting with those students that need just a little bit of push, but also not forgetting the higher performing students, they too need to be challenged. So we do meet with those students, we do push them, but we feel like as a school, there is room for growth to make sure that teachers are constantly thinking about making time to fit those higher performance students in, so that they can continuously or consistently be challenged. So that brings me to the end of the student learning and teaching component.
Thank you, Mr. Finley.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and move on to Ms. Vinnie Saincho. Marilyn, you can move the slide forward. Thank you. Actually, I'm sorry, before we move on, any questions for Mr. Finley? We have a question. What does TPR look like, Mr. Finley?
So Marlon, TPR is really just hand gestures that is paired along with words. This is very helpful for our English language learners, because what we do realize is that people learn in different ways, and some people aren't able to read it, some people aren't able to hear it, but some people are great learners when they see something being modeled. So we tend to have teachers pair their words with physical gestures. So at least if students aren't able to remember the definitions or the words, they can be prompted through physical gestures. So if I say, for example, character motivation is the reason why a character says something, does something, or thinks something, and I show the gestures for talking, doing, and thinking. When a student is struggling, I may be able to stand from across the room and show the action that says talking, and that would be a prompt for them to say like, oh, we're thinking about what the character says. Or if I show a gesture pointing at my head, it indicates to the student, oh, he's talking about what the character is thinking. So it's really, really important just to make sure that they have that TPR. You're most welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you, Mr. Finley. Ms. Venice, you're muted. Just, oh no, you're not. Here you are.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Navarro. Hello, everybody. We wanted to take a little bit of time and kind of go into a little bit more detail of what special ed does and who's in the department, and essentially give you a little bit of a breakdown of what special ed's actually completing and working with on students over here at Reach. So that way, when WASC is on the campus, you'll have a better understanding of all the little different things that we do. So initially, when special education started here at Reach over 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, we only had 23 students, and we have 80 students now. So it's growing more and more every day. We have what's referred to as an all-inclusive, mild to moderate special education department. So what that means is that we provide all of our services in a general education environment. So there are levels within special ed. So there's levels of support within special ed. And so we would be like the very first level in regards to an entry level of special education, right? So there's a mild to moderate, and then there's a mod to severe environment that is a higher level of care than Reach has here on our campus. And really that's all defined by the types of services that we provide. So within our department, we have a licensed clinical social worker, which is myself. We have a behavior specialist. We have a behavior intervention team that consists of 3 people. We have 3 special education teachers. We have a speech pathologist and a school psychologist. And on occasion, sometimes we'll bring in contracted staff. So they're not full-time employees at Reach, but we do provide services, other services within the 13 qualifying codes for special ed, but a lot of times we'll just contract those services out. So they'll come in and they'll provide those services on campus, but then they leave. So they're not necessarily a part of the large Reach family, but they are providing services on campus. So sometimes you might see people on and off of the campus, moving in and out of our department, providing different services, but are not necessarily a part of our large special education department. We also have, I'm sorry, I mentioned the speech path and the school psych. So the speech pathologist is on campus this year, and our hope is to have another full-time speech path on campus next year. That worked really well for us. And then our school psychologist is off campus, and she manages many different campuses, but she's our only school psychologist that we have assess all of our students. Thank you, Marion. Thank you for that. Yeah, okay. Okay, so let's talk about the services in special ed, because this might be a topic that they bring up. So currently, the Reach Special Education Department provides we provide a pretty good amount of services. We're treating the whole child in our department, as we actually treat the whole child here at Reach. It's one of our strengths. So we provide academics, which is specialized academic instruction. We have a speech pathology. So we have, like I mentioned earlier, the speech pathologist that's on campus. On occasion, we provide occupational therapy. We provide education-related mental health services. So this is a big one, because a lot of smaller charter schools or even small campuses that have a special education department don't have an ERMS department. And so ERMS is very similar to general education counseling, but the only way to actually receive ERMS is if you have an IEP. So the student has to have an IEP, and an IEP stands for Individualized Education Plan. And the only way for a student to get an IEP is to be assessed and qualify under 13 qualifying codes. I don't think they'll ask you anything like that, but I think understanding the services that are on campus are really helpful. So we provide academics, speech, OT, and we have a counseling department within the special education division, and it's referred to as ERMS. So it's a little bit different than general education counseling. It is a cognitive behavior therapy and a dialectic behavior therapy treatment program. And so it focuses on acknowledging the fact that our thoughts directly affect our feelings and our feelings directly affect our actions. And then the DBT component has to do with grounding. So guided meditation, timed breathing, things of that nature. So it directly is applicable to promoting emotional regulation on our students that struggle in class to allow them to access academics. So it's specifically related to academics. So that's a little bit of the difference between general education counseling and special education counseling, is that one is specifically targeting how to help the student be successful academically. In addition to that, we have behavior intervention supports. And within the entire department, we have two separate divisions. We have the special education division and the student supports division. And so we have behavior and counseling in both divisions. So we're going to break them up a little bit differently for you, so you have an understanding of which department's providing what. So all the services that I just went over only apply to students with IEPs. And then the behavior intervention supports bridge between both departments. And so what ends up happening is we put together what are referred to as FBAs, functional behavior analysis, where we go in and we collect data and we produce what's referred to as a BIP, a behavior intervention plan. And those are specifically implemented to promote academic success. So everything in regards to special ed is to take the student and the student's needs and connect them to academics. Marilyn? So under student support services, we have counseling and behavior intervention. And we're going to bring in Jessica to review the behavior intervention support component. But just to touch briefly on the differences between general education and special education supports, because one, like I mentioned earlier, the special education component is directly tied to students that only have IEPs. And the focus of that treatment is to bridge the gap between what they know and what they need to know, right, to be successful academically, or it's to promote them engaging in academics. So in regards to special ed, so student support services is the overarching umbrella, but it's a general education support component. And within student support services, we have a counseling division. That specific counseling component only treats acute crisis care. So acute crisis care looks something like 6 to 8 weeks. It normally treats things like a recent loss in the family, transitions going into a parent divorce or coming out of a parent divorce, or things like that. Something that it's acute care, something that we get in, we work on coping skills, and then we release the student. We've even done those types of supports for the families as well. You saw a lot of that going on during COVID. And then also we have, like I mentioned earlier, the behavior intervention component, and I'd like to bring Jessica in to kind of discuss that separate section. Jessica?
Okay, thanks, Vinny. Can you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So I could go down a rabbit hole and talk about behavior all day, but I won't do that to you guys. Mainly for behavior intervention supports, you need to know that we are trained and all our methods are derived from ABA. So that's applied behavior analysis. It's a science that is data driven to focus the support and changing the behavior of a student, their environment, in order for them to be successful. So you'll see that both in the IEP, like Ms. Vinny said, with the BIP, a behavior intervention plan. And that's when you see our one-to-ones, Ferdine, Justin, Danny, myself, go in and hang out with a student in your classroom all day or a portion of the day. And that'll be with a student who has an IEP. What we also do, we provide behavior intervention support. Same thing, we go in, we collect our data, like I said, data-driven through ABA, right? And if we see that there's a student that has behavior needs, that need that extra support, that extra love, we will partner with Anne and intervention and create their own like modified behavior plan to partner with an SST. So the difference is that when the student has an IEP with a behavior plan, they end up with support from a one-to-one. When they have a behavior plan with an SST, those supports and redirections are provided by the teacher. So that's a really big distinguish that you guys should know. If the behavior plan is partnered with an SST, it's teacher driven, teacher redirection. But if it's a student with a behavior plan with an IEP, then that's when you get stuck with one of us and we're in your classroom all day hanging out with you guys. So, any questions?
Thank you, Jessica. And so lastly, we just want to kind of tie it up and let you know that, that one of the strengths or the unique things about the special education and the student support services department at Reach is that we treat the whole child, right? So many schools are treating just academics or academics and speech. Many programs just treat academics and speech, but our department was built specifically to treat the whole child. So that's why there's not only ERMS, education related mental health services for our IEP students, but it also has an acute care crisis intervention counseling component for our general education students and our families. So that's one of the significant differences between our schools and say many other schools in regards to our student support services department. We treat the whole child. One area of growth for us in regards to our student support services department is we haven't pushed our department in regards to what's referred to as a higher level of care in regards to academics. So that's referred to as modified curriculum. We started that for a few students this year. And so we're growing in our skills in that area. And so that's one of the areas that we will continue to grow in, but that's like a higher level of care that a student would probably receive outside of our school, going to what's referred to as a mod to severe program, which wouldn't be here at Reach, right? So we're trying to help support our students that may require maybe another school, but don't really need it for behavior. So we're actually trying to expand the program to increase academics in an area or a higher need, a student that requires a higher need. So that's all I have. Any questions for Jessica or I?
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Venice.
Mhm.
Excellent. Yes, I agree with Marilyn. Your team rocks for sure. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and move along, Miss Marilyn. And let's dive into the governing board and their duties, so we can understand what our school board does for us. The LEA, which is the school, so Reach's board, believes that the director's primary responsibility is to oversee the affairs of the charter school for the ultimate benefit of the students in the community. Now, while Reach is ultimately responsible for ensuring that the school meets its mission, the school board members possess personal and professional skills and attributes to help guide and direct the school leaders. Okay. Now, the school board also oversees the implementation of the school's charter, and they assist with complying and applicable laws, including the Brown Act, the Public Records Act, the policies such as conflict of interest. They also approve and monitor the budget and the school's fiscal practices including the receipt of grants and donations as well. Now, as far as the uniform form complaint procedures, and then this is very important, please make sure that if anyone from your team is missing, like we're all aware of this. So REACH has established and maintains a uniform complaint procedure. You can actually pick up the complaint forms up front in the office, or you can also go to our website and download the form from there. Now, anyone making a complaint is asked to provide in writing the nature of the complaint to be given to the administrative secretary within 72 hours of the most recent board meeting. Once the complaint form has been filed, the document goes before the REACH school board for a complete and comprehensive review. Now, once the matter has been thoroughly investigated, the REACH board president will respond in writing with the findings as well. As far as our annual independent audit, there is an audit that we hold every year, and it is a state requirement. And this requirement is to hold all schools accountable. So each year, an independent audit is conducted by an accountant certified by the state of California with knowledge of public school budgets and accounting procedures. Independent audits are, again, conducted annually. However, every 3 years, we are required to go through another audit selection process, which means we can't use the same auditor for all years. Every 3 years, we need to select a new auditor, excuse me. And the school board is actually involved in part of this process as well. Audit findings are then sent to the district and the state, and they're also shared with our governing board during our public meetings, which means everybody, parents, community gets to attend to hear about the audit findings. Now, a fun fact about REACH is that we've never had one finding that's been done incorrectly. Even 1 year, we had an auditor who stayed here so late, and he was just saying how he's never seen a school who's never had not one error, right? So he was truly looking for something and he couldn't find it. Kudos to us. So it looks like we finished early. I mean, before we take a poll though, I do want to open up for any questions that you may have. Okay, please take a poll with us. Marilyn's gonna go ahead and post the poll so you guys can clickety clack on it. There we are. We have 36 people that have answered, 37. We're still going. Up to 52, we're waiting on you. Take your time.
Ms. Navarro, do you want me to close the poll? I think we're just waiting on 3 more.
All right, let's get the 3 in. If you haven't taken the poll, we're asking you to do that now. We're waiting on 52 participants. Never mind, because some of us will not participate as admin. It looks like we're all good. Anyone still working on it? Kirkland counted for 3. Anyone still working on the poll? Going once and going twice. And go ahead and share the results, Miss Marilyn. Thank you all for participating. And so, okay, it looks really good. Do you feel we're meeting the needs of our students, of our special education students? We have 50% strongly agree, 46% agree, and then 4% neutral. Do you feel students' mental health is supported at reach? 50% strongly agree, 31% agree, that's an 81%, and then 19% are neutral. Do you feel our instructional practices promote and support student academic growth and achievement towards mastery of the state standards as stated on the school-wide action plan and LCAP? We have 67% who strongly agree, 31% who agree, and 2% who are neutral. Do you feel that the REACH's executive director effectively implements and monitors the school-wide action plan and LCAP goals and actions? 58% agree, 40% agree, and 2% remain neutral. Thank you all for participating with us and sticking around with us. We'll still be in touch in terms of WASC, but I hope you all have a beautiful day today. See you all later.